Okay, here we go. Ist alles in Ordnung?
Alles ist in Ordnung.
Ah, sprechen Sie Deutsch. Sehr gut, sehr gut. Or as they say in your language, muy bueno.
Un poquito.
Chapter 19 of Liquor Store Rufus.
Yes.
Liquor Store Rufus.
Covered by Carlos Speedy and blurb in the back by
Justin Gibbons.
Okay.
Pow.
All right.
And here we go, chapter 18. Over the course of the following days, I did a fine-tooth comb search for anything in the conversation's manuscript that would work against me. I hadn't made an appointment to get together with Rufus after our last meeting, but I knew I would be able to find him when I finished reviewing the first 50 pages of my manuscript. After a very careful review, I leaned back and asked myself objectively, who in hell would be interested in this? I came to the conclusion that it might be interesting to people who had never had a Rufus in their lives. A week went by, no Rufus. I drove through at different times during his shift from 11 to 2. No Rufus. 12:30, no Rufus. 1:30. In between times, I glued myself to my desk to the conversational manuscript. I wanted to be able to show him how our conversations had given birth to a book. In parentheses, I had sent the first 50 pages to Mrs. Sally Abrams, who may or may not be related to Stacey Abrams in Atlanta, Georgia. As requested in her email, ZiZi tells me that you have an unusual manuscript to send us. Please send the first 50 pages at your earliest convenience. We look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Sally Abrams, who might be related to Stacey Abrams. Maybe I'm jumping the gun by saying I had a complete book, but I knew if Sally Abrams said, okay, send the rest of it, it would require only a few more pages to sew it up, to bring it to a conclusion. Meanwhile, they were exchanging between me and ZiZi about love, life, and the man she called, amongst other things, Beast Monster. Willie, did you see what this Beast Monster, racist, snake dog, asshole, narcissistic motherfucker said yesterday? No, he didn't say it, he tweeted it. I grew to love listening to ZiZi rant about Trump. Her cussing was eloquent, almost poetic. Think about what you would have to be to snatch nursing babies from their mothers, to lock children up in cages, to ignore the thousands of people dying from something you could have prevented. You know what? You know what I would call somebody that mean-spirited? No, ZiZi, I don't know what you would call him. What would you call him? I would call him a beast, monster, snake dog, sick-ass, cruel, hyena motherfucker. That's what I would call him. ZiZi, could you repeat that? We usually dissolves in some form of hysterical laughter because she was never able to repeat what she just exploded with. Oh, well, I just can't help myself sometimes. I have to turn off the TV when this ugly monster beast comes on. Don't get me wrong. I work in an office where there are some handsome, good-looking white guys. So it ain't about racial animosity. It's about looking at an evil monster motherfucker. That's what it is. In addition to being a psychopath. We focused on the psychopathic area for a long time because she had read the 37 mental experts' opinions in the dangerous case of Donald Trump. The ramifications of Donald Trump's case is too serious to ignore. We must all speak up before it's too late. This is what 37 psychiatrists and mental health workers decided to do because they thought that the man's time in office would be too dangerous for the American public to not speak out. So they did. This is a piece edited by Dr. Bandy Ek Lee, MD. What's wrong with these stupid motherfuckers, these stupid white motherfuckers, to understand that that guy's crazy as hell? The motherfucker is nuts. Can't they see that? I was somewhat shocked by her profanities. Yeah, baby, they can see it, understand it, but they're so attached to that, to their white privileged status that they would do anything to retain that position in the world. ZiZi, sweetheart. You have to remember the white folks in America, north and south, east and west, have had hundreds of years to be propagandized into believing that they're superior. Just think about it this way. If black and brown people had been in charge of shit for hundreds of years and suddenly felt our grip slipping on things, then we might be willing to get behind a black/brown Trump. Maybe instead of make America great again, the code to make America white again, we would be having baseball caps with Keep America Us. I wasn't rapping this stuff absolutely, but I had reached the point where I felt I could get it done with just a few more sessions with Rufus. I drove down to the shopping mall parking lot, parked, and waited for Rufus to appear. No Rufus. It was late October, and the political picture was red hot. Biden with an African Indian woman. The left exploded with joy. And a whole lot of other people on all sides of the political spectrum. Why not an African woman of Asian descent? Trump and Pence paraded the usual lies in front of us, embroidered with elaborately fabricated bullshit. The Electoral College madness was on. The white Republicans were the maddest of the mad. It was becoming obvious in late October, even with the greatest, most fraudulent efforts at voter suppression that anybody had ever seen, that El Tramposo was going to get his white ass kicked out of the White House. The week before the day, November 3rd, 2020, I suddenly recalled that I hadn't seen Rufus in about 2 weeks. I felt kind of anxious. I wondered what was happening with him. I also needed a bit more from him to complete conversations. I drove into the parking lot, really praying that I would see the brother in his usual spot. No Rufus. I had a sinking feeling in my gut. Maybe he had been doing his night walking number and sleeping in the daytime. I drove around to the back of Mr. Kim's liquor store. No tent. I sat there for a few minutes trying to process this. No tent, no Rufus. Now what? I drove her back around to the parking lot, doing everything in my head to maintain my cool. I parked, put my mask on, and decided to approach the liquor store gang. I was a little surprised to see all of the 5 men hanging out there wearing masks. I'd never seen that before. 5 men, no women. Where was Mrs. Glover, Molly? She would know what Rufus was. They knew me from seeing me with Rufus. I could be pretty sure they knew a hell of a lot more about me than I knew about them. Hey, any of you brothers seen Mrs. Glover, Molly? Maybe it was my imagination, but it seemed like all 5 heads sort of drooped at the same time. She caught the virus, somebody mumbled behind his mask. It didn't really matter which one had spoken. The message was clear. Molly was gone, dead. When? That was all I could think of asking. 3 days ago. These guys were grieving, and for them, these macho brothers, the mask was a perfect cover. I turned to walk away, stunned by the news. One last question. Rufus? One of the men jerked his thumb in the direction of the liquor store. Ask Mr. Kim. It was only 100 yards or so, but my legs felt stiff, wooden, like they didn't want to take me to where I wanted to go. Mrs. Kim was standing behind this elevated counter. They both looked at me as I walked in. Mr. Kim walked from behind the counter and gestured for me to follow him. My legs felt even more wooden, following him through the storeroom and out into the back porch area. He positioned himself about 10 yards to my left, draped his mask around his neck, reached into his shirt pocket for his cigarettes, offered me one. I nodded no. He lit up and took a deep drag. I stared at the vacant space where Rufus once had his tent. Mr. Kim started talking like he was talking to himself. I hadn't seen him for a few days, about a week. I just assumed that he was doing the night walking, he used to call it. Another deep drag. Finally, about 3 days ago, my wife said, "You should go back there and check. Maybe he's had an accident or something." Just as I was about to open the flap to his tent, he said in a very weak voice, "Don't come in here, man. I'm sick." I ran back inside, called the hospital. They came right away and took him away. Another deep drag. They listed me as the primary contact person. And this morning they called to tell me that he died. Deep drag. Someone might have thought we were stone carvings just standing there. I didn't know what to say. Tears were rolling slowly down Mr. Kim's cheeks. He was a very strong, very independent, very brave man. That was the way he ended it. That was the way he left me standing there, staring at the empty space where Rufus once lived. I didn't know how long I stood there trying to make some kind of reality happen. I didn't want to make myself believe this little giant was gone, that I would never see him again. I would never have a chance to talk to him again. Finally, God only knows how long, I staggered through Mr. Kim's liquor store. I felt the urge to buy a fifth or something to go home and just block myself out. I resisted the urge because I knew if I gave in to that urge, I would be drunk for a long time. Willie, we pulled it off. I don't want to bore you with all of the legal details, but let me say this. My stuff is done. You hear me? Done. I'll be able to pull out of here the last week in November. We'll be able to spend our first Christmas together, our first New Year's. I'm so excited. All right, let me calm down. Heard from Sally Abrams. She is totally excited about conversations. She'll be emailing you in a couple of days. It looks like you might have a top-of-the-line agency in your back pocket. Isn't that what every writer wants and needs? Well, sweetheart, that's it for the moment. Give me a jingle when you get in. I love you. I listened to ZiZi's bright, enthusiastic message about 3 times. I needed something to cheer me up. I sprawled on my sofa and stared up at the ceiling for about an hour. I didn't want to return a call with a lot of doom and gloom in my voice. Finally, I pulled myself together to return her call. I was semi-praying that she wouldn't be at home, that I could leave a cheerful little message. No such luck. Willie, it's so glad to hear your voice. I was hoping you would call. You got any message? You got my message? Every breathless word. Is that how I sounded? Yes, you did, sweetheart, and I'm so glad. It was like I'd run out of words. What else could I say? I'm glad too, Willie. I miss you so much, but don't let me get off on a sentimental jag right now. I'll say that for when we're together. You said it would be the last week in November. That's perfect. I love the idea of starting a new year with you. Me too. Look, let's talk about this tomorrow. I gotta run. Busy woman, always doing something. I like that. Oh, one last thing before I run. Sally Abrams called me earlier. She wanted to tell me that your 50 pages resonated. That's agent speak for. She really digs the work. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, baby. I sprawled back on the sofa after our conversation, satisfied that I had pulled it off. that I made myself sound cheerful enough to disguise the pain I was feeling. I don't know where the tears came from, but they started coming and went on for a while. I couldn't really understand what it was that made me feel like crying, but I gave into it. I had a major case of the blues. I received Sally Abrams' email the next day. Willie West, sorry for the delay. I've shared your page with John Hassoff and Rolf Wernick, my partners, and we're in agreement that we'd like to deal with this work on your behalf. Manuscript? We'll look forward to hearing from you. Best, Sally Abrams. It all seemed to be happening too fast for me. I felt weirded out, as one of my dope-smoking buddies used to say. It's all of the stuff that just seemed to cave in on me. It was 2 a.m. in the morning before I finally figured out a reasonably honest reply to make to Sally Abrams' email. Dear Miss Abrams, I've received your gracious invitation to send a complete conversation manuscripts. I will be sending you the manuscript, but it's going to take a few weeks before I can do it. Right now I'm dealing with an emotional problem caused by the death of a friend, and it will take a moment or two for me to make a few corrections in the manuscript before I send it. Sincerely, Willie West. I was a little surprised to receive a reply a few hours later. Dear Willie, we do understand how much emotional events can affect the creative side of our lives. Take your time. We will be here for you. Sincerely, Sally Abrams. And that's where chapter 18 ends. After having read it 4 times, I think I finally got it right.
Wow! That's totally unexpected. Is that a plot twist?
I think you would call it that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yes.
You know, really, reality really is stranger than fiction because I don't know realistically or in reality, I don't know if such a thing would have happened. I was concerned about having Rufus's illness and death occur in a way that would sound too opportunistic.
Right.
But then I started thinking about what the pandemic did to us.
Exactly.
And a lot of people just got on out of here. You know, like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened so and so? She's gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
Go to the hospital, breathing hard, and couldn't come back.
Exactly.
Never came back.
Thinking they had a cold or the flu.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and long haulers who, caught it and never recovered.
Okay, so having put that in a proper perspective, I felt content to let it go with that, let it happen in that way because that's the way it happened. In addition to that, people like Liquor Store Rufus have lives that just take sudden twists and turns,
Always.
I had a friend like Rufus, I'm sure we all have had. I can remember seeing him one day. He was a mechanic. And the guy would be, good health, doing what he did. And I see him the next day, and both of his arms had plastic casts on them, from wrist up to elbow.
My goodness.
And, I'm looking, Clyde. His name was Clyde. What happened, man? What do you think happened? What do you mean? I don't think anything. What happened is that he had stored a car in a garage that belonged to somebody else, and they told him he had to take the car out because he hadn't paid the storage fee, the rental fee for the car. He decided to argue the point rather than admit that they were right and he was wrong. And they pulled out some, he wanted to fight both of them, and they pulled out some jacks and started whacking at him. And he's you know, he's he considered himself a great karate man. He's blocking these jab hits with his forearms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was never the same. I mean, he kept on doing what he was doing, but he was injured, and that hurt for a long time.
I'm sure.
So it's not impossible to think that whatever happened to Rufus happened.
Yes. Well, since Rufus is such a fictional character, and though some of the circumstances, like the book about Trump, was real, what is your current book? What is your current book?
My current book is called A Storyteller's Story.
Uh-huh.
The book is 538 pages.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 509 pages.
All right.
I didn't know it was quite that long.
Yes.
This is down from, I think, something like 700 pages.
Exactly. 700 some written pages.
What it's about, well, I'm calling it a semi-fictional autobiography. A semi-fictional autobiography. I don't know if there's an official genre name for things that are semi-fictional and autobiographical.
Right.
Because the nature of the genre autobiography indicates that the book is about you, well, hopefully the truth about you.
Well,
and I don't think that all autobiographies are truthful.
Of course.
And certainly this one is not.
Well, it can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Internet, or just Google A Storyteller's Story by Hawkins, and you'll find where you can purchase this book. His website is www.odhawkins.com. And last but not least,
those are famous words.
I'd like to make sure that people know that.
Yes, the book that Bandy Lee edited. This is the title of the book. If anybody thought this is the truth, the book is called The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump.
Right.
And it has, for those who have the book or who've read the book, you will know that this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yep. All right.
These particular names, I don't want to go through the whole grocery list, but the first book had 27 healthcare professionals in it, and they looked at it and decided to have a reissue, and it came up to 37. And they could have probably been 37 more if they wanted to, make the book as large as a dictionary.
All right. So,
but in the book, they did a detailed analysis of what was wrong with the former president,
all right.
Psychologically.
So it shows you do a bit of research when you write your books. So there is truth weaved in among the fiction.
Yeah, well, okay, we could call that semi-truthful. Yeah,
semi-truthful.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to do that.
Very good. Well, thank you, Odie Hawkins. Appreciate it, and look forward to the final reading of Conversations with Liquor Store Rufus. And with that,
I'm saying it.
Yes.
And I'm saying also to James Butler, thank you for a cool cap, man. I mean, like cool in the way of being warm. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that carpeted lining there.
Oh, yeah. Well,
keeps your whole body warm.
Very good. Well, with that, Chap.
Itness again.
Itness again.
Itness is fitness.